I think one of the biggest misconceptions in the addiction recovery space is this idea of replacing the behavior, replacing the addiction, replacing the sin, replacing the vice. So many men that I've spoken to over the years, and maybe this is the case with you, have thought that if I could just find something to replace my use of porn with, then I could be free. Then I wouldn't struggle in the same capacity. I think people fall into this with alcoholism, with drug addiction, with gambling, with shopping. But specifically today, we're going to talk about this idea of finding a replacement for our porn use and why this is an ineffective and incomplete approach to create, in my opinion, what is real lasting freedom. You see, this idea of replacing is us holding on to this limited belief system. It's us holding on to this new identity. And if there's a first time here listening to this podcast, welcome. My name is Coach Frank Rich, founder of Rebuilt Recovery, host of the Rebuilt Men podcast, where it is our mission to help men become better men by quitting porn and rebuilding their lives. But we do this through the lens and perspective of identity transformation. You see, it's my belief that all and lasting change, successful change, is rooted in an identity transformation. And it's with this new identity that we hold new beliefs about ourselves and about our role in the world. It's through this new identity that we have different perspectives and different lens at which we see the world through. It's through this new identity that we have different thought patterns, which leads to different actions, which creates new habits and behaviors, which ultimately will create a new reality of freedom. You see, nowhere in an identity is it us replacing anything. It's the removal. It's the removal of that old self. It's the removal of the part within you that still wants this behavior around. You see, replacement is us not addressing the root cause of why do we use pornography in the first place. You see, a replacement is I still have the desire. I'm just not going to fill that desire in the way that I used to. So I'm going to replace it with something else. But you're still fundamentally missing the part where you're not addressing the root issue. Now, in the short term, should you have replacement strategies on how you deal with triggers and stresses? Absolutely. In the short term, should you have replacement strategies and tactics that when you are triggered, this is the different behavior that are replaced in the short term? But this replacement concept, this replacement idea must be short-lived. It can be intentional for a short period of time, but the lasting success will come in true identity transformation. Because without a new identity, the old self will still linger. Without a new identity that we live out on a day-to-day basis, the chances of us sliding back is much higher. So should you replace your porn addiction? In my opinion, no. You should remove it. You should rip it out. You should kill it. You should send it off, and you should never think about it again. Use a great sports analogy. There was a movie, The Replacements, right? With Keanu Reeves, played a quarterback. This was a movie about a NFL strike, which we've seen a handful of times. I grew up in the 90s watching baseball. I remember the strike of 94. It was catastrophic to the baseball season. And there were ideas back then and discussions about replacement players coming in. Could they continue the season with subpar talent, replacing the people that were on the field with new ones? In the movie Replacement, though, in the real world idea of replacing athletes with subpar people, the pros still lingered. And it was only after the replacements filled a short-term duty that the old people came back. You see, replacement is us leaving the idea of what the past used to be as potentially coming back. It's not a complete removal. It's not a complete death. It's not a resurrection and a creation of a new man. It's just replacing a short behavior with something else, short-lived. So I think a lot of men that I've spoken to, in this conversation that I'm having with you today, was spawned through a discussion I had with a mental health professional. I was recently interviewed on a podcast where they had myself and then a doctorate in the field of psychology. I was sharing my story of recovery and freedom and how it led us to creating Rebuilt Recovery and all the amazing work that we're doing here. And I don't know if the interviewer thought that I wasn't an expert in the things that I do, because he brought another person in to almost solidify the things that I was saying. But there was a part within the discussion that he and I didn't see eye to eye. We were breaking down our approach and our curriculum, and I'm proud to say that he supported everything. He's blown away at how in-depth and comprehensive my work has become. He was blown away with the framework of Reboot Your Life, which is our number one program that has helped over 1,600 men create a life of freedom. And I discussed it in a way where we talk about recognizing our triggers, but then building real-time tools to help us regulate those emotions. So when the stress arises, instead of running to porn, we have a healthier alternative. And he said something that he sees a lot in quote unquote gurus who become professionals in this space is they lack this understanding of replacing. You got to have a replacement for that behavior. And I said, Dr. Frank, I don't think I agree with that. I don't think it is about replacing. If it is, it's done at a much higher level though. It's done at the level of identity versus on the ground level of replacement of the behavior. You see, the identity rips out the old one and injects a new one. So it replaces it to a certain degree. But our goal was not the replacement. Our goal was the transformation within. See, you guys listening that are stuck and struggling right now, you're looking for the tactics, you're looking for the tips, you're looking for the strategies, you're looking for the insight. What's the one thing I can say here? What's the one thing I can do here? What happens when I feel this way? How do I alleviate it? And tactics can help in the short term, but they will not be lasting. The only thing that lasts for good is transformation. The only thing that creates real freedom is identity transformation. You must see the parts within you that are keeping this addiction around, rip them out, and inject new belief systems, new thought patterns, new identity. And with that, have you replaced some of the old parts for you? You could say so, but not in the manner that most people think about replacing things. So if you're stuck and you're struggling and you keep looking for the short-lived tactic and you keep looking for the replacement strategy in this situation, stop using a flawed, failed approach. Begin to seek a new identity within. And if you're looking for some help, I want to invite you into our community. We talked about it already. It's been recognized by professionals in the space as the most comprehensive, in-depth, holistic approach to real and lasting freedom from pornography addiction. Now, if you go to school.com, SKOOL.com/reboot your life, you can join us for free for an entire week. There's no obligation to stick around and stay. You can take a peek behind the curtain and see what we're about. You can join us on our one-to-one support, and you can join us on our group community calls here as well. School.com, SKOOL.com/reboot your life, or the link down is in the show notes below. But stop trying to replace your behaviors and begin to rebuild, reboot, and recreate your identity. Coach Frank of the Rebuilt Man, we love you guys. See you in the next one.